Hello and welcome. Have you ever wondered if there's a single message out there that has the power to change, well, everything? Today we're going to explore a message the Bible describes not just as good advice, but as the actual power of God. So let's break it down together. So let's start with a really big question, something to frame our whole conversation. What do you think is the single most powerful message in the world? I mean, is it some deep philosophy, a new political idea, a scientific breakthrough? Well, the Bible gives an answer that might just surprise you.
According to the scriptures, the answer is a message called the gospel, and that word literally means good news. In this explainer, we're going to dig into why it's considered not just good, but powerful enough to completely transform a person's life.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the core message itself. Then we'll unpack its three key events. From there, we'll see how this knowledge actually changes us on the inside, which in turn changes how we act on the outside. And finally, we'll wrap up with some simple, practical ways to share this good news. All right, let's dive right into our first section, the gospel's core message. See, before we can talk about its power or its effects on us, we have to be absolutely crystal clear on what it actually is. This isn't just an introduction, this is the very foundation of the Christian faith. You know, the Apostle Paul doesn't leave us guessing. Right here in 1 Corinthians, he gives us a clear, concise definition. The gospel is centered on three specific events about Jesus Christ. He died, he was buried, and he was resurrected. And notice he says twice, according to the scriptures. That's so important. It means this wasn't some new plan, but one God had foretold all along. Okay, so we know the gospel is about Christ's death, burial, and resurrection. But let's really unpack those truths. The crucial part here is to understand what these three events actually mean for us, personally. These aren't just historical facts to memorize. They are life-altering truths with the power to change everything. First up, Christ's death. This wasn't just a tragic end to a good teacher's life. It was a purposeful sacrifice. The Bible teaches that his death was a payment, a substitution, that provides complete forgiveness for our sins, all of them, past, present, and future. Now, this is really interesting. Why is the burial part of the core message? Well, because it signifies finality, right? When something is buried, it's put away, it's gone. This is a beautiful picture of how when God forgives our sins, he doesn't just pardon them, he separates them from us completely, no longer holding our past against us. And this right here is the final, most powerful piece of the puzzle, the resurrection. Christ didn't stay dead. His rising from the grave proved that his payment for sin was accepted and that death itself was defeated. For anyone who believes this, it offers a brand new start, what the Bible calls a newness of life, and something called justification. Now that's a big word, but it just means that because of what Christ did, we are declared not guilty in God's eyes. So, why is this good news so absolutely necessary? Well, the scriptures here paint a really clear picture. Romans 6:23 tells us that on our own we're condemned, separated from God. And as John 14 and Acts 4 made clear, this message isn't just one helpful option among many, it's presented as the only way to bridge that gap. That's why 1 Timothy says there's one mediator. It's not about what we can do for God, but about accepting what Christ has already done for us. And that brings us to our next section, which is all about how the gospel changes us. This is where it goes from being a story we know in our heads to a power we actually experience in our hearts. The gospel isn't something you just agree with one time. It's a dynamic force that starts a deep internal transformation.
The very first way the gospel starts working in us is something called the work of light. Think about it like this. When you walk into a dark room and flip on a light switch, you suddenly see everything clearly, the good and the bad. In the same way, when you believe this message, it's like a light turns on inside your heart and it starts to show you what's really there.
Now, this light isn't meant to shame us or condemn us. As this incredible verse in 2 Corinthians explains, its purpose is to restore. It gently exposes things in our lives, our motives, our attitudes, not to crush us, but so that God's mercy and grace can come in and begin to heal and change us. And here's where it gets really practical in our daily lives. When you truly grasp that you've received this incredible, unearned gift of grace, it totally changes how you see other people. You can see the contrast here. Instead of focusing on everyone else's flaws, you become way more aware of your own need for forgiveness. You shift from being quick to judge to being quick to show the same mercy that you received.
Hey, if this explanation of grace is encouraging to you, we'd be so grateful if you take just a quick second to like this explainer and subscribe to the channel. It's just a small click for you, but it really does help us get this content out to more people. We truly appreciate your support.
So this huge internal change, this work of light and grace, it naturally leads to a radical shift in our focus. It moves us from a life that's all about me to a life that's centered on serving others.
This verse in Galatians just captures the goal of the gospel's work perfectly. It's a complete transformation of our identity. The old, self-centered part of us is considered crucified with Christ, and a new life begins, one where we are motivated to live for others, just like Christ lived for us.
So, if this truly is the best news in the entire world, what do we do with it? Well, the natural response is to share it. And that brings us to our final section, moving from just being a recipient of the good news to becoming a messenger of it. Now, this isn't meant to be some heavy obligation or a chore. It's more of a natural overflow of the joy and freedom that we've experienced ourselves. The Bible teaches that God actually chooses to partner with ordinary people like you and me to spread His message, and what an incredible privilege that is. And you know, sharing the gospel doesn't have to be intimidating or awkward. It can be super simple and authentic. Here are 3 practical steps anyone can take. First, know your own story. How has this news actually changed you? Second, pray for opportunities. You'll be amazed at the natural conversations that God opens up. And third, whenever you share, do it with love, gentleness, and respect.
So as we wrap this up, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. The gospel isn't just a set of facts to agree with. It is the very power of God, and it's meant to be experienced in a way that transforms your life. So I want to leave you with this final thought to reflect on. Knowing that this power is available, power for forgiveness, for a new life, and for changing you from the inside out, how will you let it empower you today?
Thank you so much for joining us as we've explored the power of the gospel. If this explainer was helpful for you, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing so you don't miss what we break down next time.